The psalm before Brother Norman speaks to us will be number 737. 737. 737. Sing the first, second, and last verses. 737. So on the chorus, I want you basses to really ring out. Let's sing. Christ our Redeemer died on the cross, died for the sinner, paid all his due. All who receive him need never fear. Yes, he will pass over you. When I see the blood, when I see the blood, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Chiefest of sinners, Jesus can save. As he has promised, so will he do. O sinner, hear him, trust in his word, then he will pass over you. When I see the blood, when I see the blood, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Oh, what compassion, oh, boundless love, Jesus hath power, Jesus is true. All who obey are safe from the storm. Oh, he will pass over you. When I see the blood, when I see the blood, when I see the blood, I will pass over you.
Thank you, John Adam, for that wonderful singing. Chaz, for our prayer. We appreciate each and every one of you being here with us this morning. The ladies met with the elders last Sunday afternoon, and I think we had a very productive meeting. I know I took 4 pages of notes, and so we'll see how this goes forward, and we'll try to start working on these. However, I've got to mention how proactive the ladies are. It was brought up that, we needed to staff a nursery, and I think before the meeting was over, the ladies had already come up with a list of those who's going to be in the nursery. It looked like to me it was for the next year. So I don't know how many have signed up already, but I don't think they've got anybody, any line vacant on that list that I saw. So I appreciate their spirit of jumping right in and getting things done. And this afternoon, I'm sure us men will have a real productive meeting as we look for ways that we can go forward here in our congregation. I've shared parts of a personal story with you before. I'd like to go over this story again in relation to our lesson today. But after my mother died, my oldest sister, who's now like 82 or 83, she kind of tried to step in and keep the family together, something that my mother attempted to do, because with 8 brothers and sisters scattered around, we needed kind of corralling from time to time. And so my sister stepped in and, started sending the birthday cards and started sending the anniversary cards and, all of those type things that a mother would normally do. Yeah, she kept all of us from killing each other, at some of our family gatherings and that type stuff. And kept us, let's say, on speaking terms, because you know how brothers and sisters sometimes can get on each other's nerves. And it's just one of those things. So she kind of stepped in and kind of filled in there and has done a great job. But not long after Mama died, we had another nightmare in a post office right north of Greenville, very similar to the Moorville setup over here. A man approaches the window and asks for a stamp. Well, as the postmaster's reaching down to get the stamp, the guy pulls out a gun and fires. Hits the postmaster right in the abdomen. The postmaster grabs her abdomen, and the guy pulls the trigger again. The second shot hit her wedding ring and bounced off. And so the guy tries to get through the bars there to get back to the back. Well, the postmaster stumbles around and stumbles out the back door while the guy's trying to get back to where the stamps are, I guess, and what little money was there at 8:15 in the morning. But she rounds the corner of the building there. The town marshal is just coming up to get his mail. And he tells me afterwards, he said, I knew something was wrong as soon as I saw Miss Lady. And so the postmaster kind of laid over his car, and the robber inside saw what was happening outside, saw the police car. He comes barging out the door. Now think about this over to Moorville Post Office, about the robber coming out of the front door, firing at the police car. All right. The policeman had opened his door, left the driver's side door there, and he said was pulling his gun as he was trying to get out of the car, and he finally bent under the door, all right, and just started firing at the guy coming towards him. The robber came up to the door and fired, and the town marshal said, I felt the bullet go past my right side of my head. And then the robber came around the door, and the town marshal was able to get his .357 Magnum up and get the guy right in the chest. Right in the chest. Killed him instantly. So we've got the postmaster laying across the town marshal's car. We've got the robber in a pool of blood out in the parking lot, and we've got the wounded police officer there on the ground, and can't get up, can't move, because as he was trying to get out of the car, his foot got caught under the seat or something and twisted it, and so he was still really hanging outside the car. By the time I arrived, my sister, who was the postmaster, was out of surgery, and she was in ICU. Doctors said that lots of internal problems, injuries with lots of things messed up. If the second bullet had went in, they said it would have been no way they could have done anything to help. But tubes and monitors were everywhere. There was that constant beep, to remind you just exactly where you were. And there was an eerie death chill in the air. And I had just gone through my mother as she walked through the valley of the shadow of death in a room very similar. And now I'm standing by the bedside of my oldest sister, who's fighting for her life, because somebody would rather steal than work. In instances like this, many questions go through your mind. Why? Why my sister? Why my sister? Why does God allow something like this to happen? Why this post office? I mean, this is one of the smallest post offices in the whole nation. What do you think you're going to get out of this place? You know, a little bit of change and a few stamps. It's worth shooting somebody. Why does an innocent person have to go through this? How desperate was this man evidently was for 20 bucks? Why did he have to pull the trigger? He could have gotten anything he wanted without pulling the trigger. You know, and the whole time you're kind of there in this room, and your whole mind is just going with all of these different questions, and it's just real foggy, you know, is this happening? Is this real? Is this real? Will she live? What type of life will she have afterwards? She's got a husband who completely depends on her. You know, who's going to work this out? How is this going to work out? You know, it's a time when your faith is really shaken. It's a time when doubts may come in. It's a time when you feel very, very vulnerable, okay? Because you realize that anyone from anywhere could come in at any time and shake your little world and have it changed forever. And this fog is dark and deep. It imprisons you. And you wonder, what are you going to do? And this darkness and fog is accompanied many times, okay, by depression, discouragement, disappointment, doubt. All of these things are kin to each other. And it has a way of just pulling even the strongest person down with it. And the future, you sit there and wonder, you know, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And somebody comes in and with words of encouragement and with words of hope. Say it by well-meaning friends. Not really knowing what to say. I mean, what do you say? You know, how do you say it? And it's good that we have friends to do that. But I found that, you know, other than them being there, there's nothing anybody can say. Just them being there. And if you've ever stood at the bedside of a loved one in their last moments, if you've ever been at the side of a loved one after a terrible tragedy, if you've ever been diagnosed with a life-changing illness, if you've ever had to leave your mother in a strange place because others say this is the best thing to do, even if it's for their own good. If you ever have been betrayed by a close friend, if you have ever been at the point of death yourself, but was able to come back, if you've ever had to lower the casket of a loved one into the grave, then I think you too might recognize this dark fog that encircles you during these times. You know, it's a cold aloneness that kind of screams out, does anyone understand? What am I going through and why am I going through it? Some of you may be going through this cloud right now. Some of you may be groping through this darkness. And it has a way of zapping our strength. Whatever we wanted to do or thought we was going to do tomorrow or next week, you know, we can't really think about it because this incident, this whatever we're going through is stopping us from thinking about the future. It's raining on our parade today. And it's destroying our hopes and dreams for the future. Suddenly, life has taken a turn. And we don't like it, but there's nothing we can do about it. Forget any hopes of reaching the world. Forget trying to change society. Forget having any aspirations of moving mountains. God, just help me make it through this day. This day. In our efforts to try to get control of our life again, call your attention to John 1. John 1, starting there. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being by him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Now let's jump to 14, verse 14. And the Word, this is the same word now, this is the same Word that was with God in the beginning. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. Yes, Jesus, the Word, was with God the Father in heaven at the beginning. He was in that splendor place, but he left it. He left it to be born in a manger, to become a blood offering, a sacrifice for the sin of the world. Now this morning I want you to go with me to what I think was probably the most foggiest moment in history. Now, I want you to visualize this. It's right outside Jerusalem, across the Kidron Valley there to the base of the Mount of Olives. There's a grove of twisted olive trees there. The ground is cluttered with lots of rocks. The terrain is very unlevel as you're going up that hill and down. It's a quiet sort of place, though, tranquil most of the time. It's a really dark night, illuminated only with those who have torches, with that tar and material that it was dipped in and lit, with those rags that are burning now, and you've got that putrid tar smell. In the distance, you've got the muffled clanking of the Roman soldiers' armor. There are shouts coming from this side of the garden, that side of the garden, and it seems like everywhere around you hear it ringing. It's a Thursday night, possibly Friday, early Friday after midnight. Over to one side of the garden, up against some of these rocks, you see there's 3 individuals over there who appear to be sleeping, nodding. Then you get the sight of this one person kind of back into the garden there a little bit, laying prostrate out on the ground. And you try to look closer. What is that? What is this happening? What's he doing? What's he doing on the ground? Sounds like he's saying something. Sounds like he's hurting. Look at his eyes. Look at the stare. He's hurting bad. He's in agony. He's sweating profusely. And there's some mumbling about if there's any other way. What's he talking about? Of course, you know now, that's Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Maybe you've seen that classic picture of painted of Jesus with this halo on, with this bright light, above him, and he's there in the garden against this big rock, and he's got this white, nice robe on. He's got his hands folded, there and everything, and I'm not an artist, all right, but I can tell you one thing. Whoever painted that picture didn't look at Mark. He didn't use those descriptions in Mark to paint this picture. Mark 14 considers phrases like distressed and troubled and deeply grieved there in Mark 14, 32 to 40. And then at the point of death, Mark says. But then the book of Luke adds some more commentary to it. It says that Jesus was in agony, that he was praying fervently, and so fervently that his sweat became like drops of blood falling upon the ground. And then he asked his Father 3 different times, if it be any other way. And due to the great distress of the moment, we're even told that an angel came to assist Jesus. And then one more in Hebrews 5:7. Look what the Hebrew writer says. In the days of his flesh, now that's when Jesus' incarnation, when he becomes man, he offered up both prayers and supplications with loud crying and tears. Have you ever really thought about that? Jesus was basically boo-hooing, I guess we could say, very loudly and crying. That's what the Bible says. Folks, we have to understand that Jesus is in human form. This is Jesus coming to earth to be us. This is Jesus coming to earth as we are. And his reaction to this physical stuff that we have to react to as well. Because you see, in human form, and he still has a godly component of him now, okay? He is fully aware of the betrayal, the trial, the beatings that's fixing to come, the scourging, the mockery, the crown of thorns, the weight of the cross, the rugged cross, the nails, the hanging. The being unable to breathe. His mother and best friend looking up at him and him looking down. The questions that all the apostles and disciples would have now, the doubts that would flood their lives. And ultimately, he knew that the separation with his Father was going to happen. He was aware of this ordeal and these trials. Now, this separation from his Father was something that the Father nor the Son had ever experienced before. With all of this happening, does that picture of Jesus look like he's resting in the palm of God's hand? No, it doesn't. Why? Because this is what Jesus had to go through for us. For us to be able to live in heaven one day together with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. We see Jesus, a man who is completely in his carnal nature, his physical nature. He's wrestling with commitments, knowing that he's going to have to go through this physical trial. yet at the same time, he's yearning to his Father. If there be any other way, can you find it? Can you find it? Mark uses kind of black paint to describe this scene. He should, because I mean it's pretty bad. Jesus has no alternative but to be flesh. There in Hebrews 9:22 we're told, without the shedding of blood there is no forgiveness. And so what we see here is a man of sorrows, as we read about there in Isaiah 53, as Cade read. Or as he started to read, he didn't read the whole thing. I didn't have him read the whole thing, but I'm going to pick up here in verse 4, 53:4. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We've turned every way to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Jesus has done all of this for us, and what have we done? Oh man, we're doing everything that we want to do individually. We don't ever think about what Jesus went through for us so that we could have eternal life with him. What we want to do is do our own thing, whatever that might be, you see, without thinking about the loud crying, the wailing, the tears, the pleadings, the yearnings of Jesus. The next time that fog finds you, all right, you might do well to remember Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. The next time you think no one really understands, you might want to go back and read Mark 14 again. The next time maybe self-pity convinces you that no one cares, you may want to pay a visit to Gethsemane. The next time you want to lose your cool with your spouse or your coworkers or your kids or friends, you might want to think about what Jesus did and how he handled these situations. The next time you have an inkling, the devil says, you don't have to go to services today, or you don't have to do this, you don't have to give that much, they don't need it, The next time you don't want to put God first, think of the agony that Jesus went through for you to have what you have and to get what is being planned for you in the future. Think about Gethsemane. Jesus was never more human than he was when he hurt, when he went through the pain, when he went through the agony. He was never more human than he was right then. God was never more near us than when Jesus hurt. But in the end, despite everything Jesus had to go through, Jesus acknowledged to the Father, thy will be done. Thy will be done. We should never doubt the love of God because of the sacrifice of his Son. He can truly understand. He can truly understand. Hebrews 5:8 reflects that Jesus recognized the importance of obedience to the Father. Although he was a son, he learned obedience from the things which he suffered. Jesus was expected to obey, and folks, so are we. So are we. God expects nothing less from us than obedience. He required it of his Son through the sufferings that he saw, and he requires it from us today too. Mark 16:16 says, he who believes and is baptized shall be saved. That means we better believe, and that means we better be baptized. As 1 Peter 3:21 tells us as well, emphasizes baptism doth now save us. Doesn't get any clearer. And we should take advantage of the time God has given us. My sister, who by the way recovered, she is still serving as a family matriarch. Never envisioned that one morning, beautiful sunshiny morning, when she went to work, that she might have lost her physical life. And we don't either. 2 Corinthians 6:2 chides us, behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. For any reason we can help you, come forward now while we stand and sing.